Hey everyone, this is Sean, and I am coming to you from HellaFatVegan.com. That's my wife Sarah's website. She and I both thank you so much for all of your interesting comments and your time and your going through that particular site, because what we both believe is that if we can make it easier for you to eat a plant-based diet, that's not going to be just good for us as a species, because it's going to lower the carbon footprint, but that's going to be good for you individually because it's going to make you healthier. It's going to be good for the people around you, your intimate family, your friends, because they're going to see you making healthy choices, and maybe they'll rethink some of their choices without having to be kind of bombastic with it. We don't need to try to convince others, really, that what they're doing is wrong and what we're doing is right, because people don't primarily learn through hearing words. People primarily learn through seeing action. And what that probably means right now is every time I talk to you, I need to be eating plant-based food, right? Because then you'll see the connection. So that aside, what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is why having plant-based friends is really important. So you might know by now, I come from the world of psychology. I'm actually a coach. I have my own website, SeanMarconet.com, if you're willing to, and go ahead and check that out, SeanMarconett.com, where I teach people how to use the tools of psychology to make their life better. And not in a way that's like stodgy or clinical, but in a way that's really functional. Like, for example, I have some videos on there that show you how to change negative feelings into positive ones. Who wouldn't want to do that? That's on my YouTube channel. Go ahead and check it out. It's called the tapping technique. Anyway, what I'm getting at is when you go through training in psychology, you learn a lot about sociology also. You learn a lot about how we interact with people on a greater scale. And there's one thing in particular that can happen called an in-group, out-group bias. And I've talked about this before, but specifically, this is why we need vegan friends or plant-based friends. And I'm going to give you some ways that you can find these people, so don't worry about that. It's super important because if we get labeled as part of the other group, when we start explaining the reasons why we eat plants, alarms go off in people's heads that are our friends and family, that are well-meaning people, that love us completely. And when we tell them that we're starting on this journey of eating only plants, we're going to eat plant-based, we're going to become vegan, especially if we use the word vegan, I think it triggers people to go search in the older parts of our brain for reasons why that would not be a good idea. And this is an automatic process that happens. What I'm saying is, when you have any group of people, they're all going to try to kind of somehow become similar. Because where we were born and where we were raised, where our DNA got cut, that's one way to think about it, is in the forest. And if evolution is true, and the process of evolution did occur, there's been a lot of time spent and a lot of resources, a lot of lives spent getting human beings to the exact place that they are today. Now, I happen to be a human being too, so I can kind of speak for everyone, right? But it's not weird to talk about humans as a kind of third person type thing. We're kind of animals, if you believe, again, the evolution thing. And, again, we've spent a lot of resources getting to where we are now. So built into us are some of these alarms. When we're in groups of people, we want to be similar. If we're too different, that might mean something that could be dangerous. Because what we did as humans is we ventured out into the unknown, and then we brought back that knowledge, and we told stories, probably first with our bodies, and then probably second through art work, and then probably third through language. Language was probably the most recent development for human beings. Again, going on that timeline of evolution. And the purpose of all of this was to turn the unknown into something that was known. Because if there's something unknown, it could be good, but it could be bad. But you need a process to kind of figure this out, right? So that's kind of what was happening always, is we would turn the unknown into the known, and you could argue that that's exactly what we're still doing. We're turning the unknown into the known. So when we come to our loved ones and the people that we know, that we think we know, and we say, okay, I'm going to be vegan now, it throws up alarms for them because that's unknown. That's the simplest way I can say it. To them, it's unknown, and they have all these questions about it. So you are acting as if you are the explorer. And that's actually, I think, a good way to think about it. You're the explorer of your group. If you're the only one who's doing this, and you've ventured out and you found this thing called veganism, you found this thing called a plant-based diet, and you're coming back and you're trying to explain how we can turn this unknown thing that you now know, and you now know the benefits of, into a global thing that's known. Now, in groups of people, there's a lot of resistance to that, because it's possible that you're wrong. It is possible. It's possible that everybody that's eating a plant-based diet, it's possible we're wrong. It's possible that it's actually quite dangerous to do this. Possible, not likely, but possible, right? I mean, if we're just people and we're not trying to delude ourselves, if we're trying to open our eyes, any of that's possible, yeah? So in a way, when we come back, we're seen as dangerous. And people put their defenses up. And then we get pissed off because we're trying to help them, right? And so the people that we love the most could become people that start to view us as other. And I think if you have awesome relationships, and if you're one that focuses on quality in your relationships, you'll understand how to navigate this, and it's not really a big deal. You're not going to really lose anyone per se. I mean, if you did, that would be their choice, let's say. Well, I can't be your friend anymore because because it's too dangerous to be around you. That's really what they're saying. It's too dangerous for my own personal integrity, my belief system, for you to change possibly my beliefs and put me in danger. Physical danger. Could you imagine? So whereas that is possible, it's probably not likely, but we always err as people on the side of believing ourselves over believing others. So we need to be sold in a way. And I'm not saying it's our job to sell the people that we care about, but what I am saying is it's very important to have people in your life who already believe what you believe too. So you can have mostly a group of people who don't agree with you. You find this in politics. You find this all over the map. You find this usually when you go home for holidays. Right? Which just happened. Surprise, surprise. So what we can do is, by having this other group of people who do believe what we believe, we're not setting off their alarms, right? We can have a more real, not a more real, but perhaps a more authentic relationship between who we are and who we believe we are and who we are showing to the world and what we're talking about and what we get excited about, etc. In a group of vegan people, you're probably going to be able to talk about vegan stuff a little bit more with people that are a little more interested in it as compared to people that aren't vegan, for example, right? So it's important to have this group too, because it will also motivate you to continue this lifestyle. If we get too much negative feedback about something, it becomes too hard. How many times have you talked to someone, or has this actually happened to you, where you went full on, 100%, changed your life, and then it became too difficult? Part of what is too difficult is negative feedback. Oh my God, I'm going to have to go home for Christmas and my parents are going to ask me all these questions about eating a plant-based lifestyle. I'm very fortunate. My parents are very open to it and they're very accepting. And even on this last break, I made a vegan lasagna for my parents and they loved it. And then they made a vegan meal actually. So it was pretty cool. And they also do gluten-free for us when we're around too. So massive respect for my parents, Brian and Becky. Thank you. So it's important to find that somewhere, though. If it's within your family and friends already, fantastic. If it's not, go find it somewhere. You don't have to get rid of those relationships. But you do, I would say, in order for this to be a long-lasting habit, you do need to find people that will help you with this. So how to do that? Meetup. Meetup.com is a fantastic resource for this stuff. In fact, Sarah and I did a couple of meetups, vegan meetups in Toronto where we live. And it was great. You meet all these people, you speak to them about your beliefs. We go to vegan restaurants. We can talk to the people who work there, right? And then we have this huge community of vegans that you guys maybe are not yet, but you're interested in eating plant-based for some portion of your life. And that's fantastic. By the way, if you're here and you're not a vegan, that's great. That's okay. In fact, I think that's a pretty cool thing because you can kind of see what these people are up to and integrate that information into your own life. I think it's a very okay thing to eat less animals instead of no animals. I think that's a better thing than eating more animals or animal products, right? So there's a spectrum to that, which is incredible, and everybody's on their own timeline. So if you have any questions about this topic, if you have any questions about difficulties becoming vegan, being vegan, etc., please, if you just want to tell us something that you're excited about, all the above, anything, comment, we'll be sure to respond. And thank you for your time and your attention. Talk to you very soon.